What's going on, everybody? It's John from THS Wrestling, and this is your AEW Dynamite recap. Now, before we get started, make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, and make sure you turn notifications on by hitting this little bell icon. That way you can see all of these videos and much more. We got a bunch of interviews, a lot of cool stuff over at the YouTube. This was Fyter Fest Night 2 for AEW Dynamite, and we kicked off with the Labors of Jericho. It's the Labors of Jericho. A 5-match series. If you're not familiar, Jericho has to beat all of the people MJF puts in front of him, and if he does, then Jericho gets his match with MJF. MJF was on commentary. This was Chris Jericho taking on Shawn Spears in a match in which the chairman, Shawn Spears, is the only person that can use a chair in the match. Sammy Guevara comes out at one point to take care of Tully Blanchard. I thought the match overall was pretty good. There was some laboring for sure in it. Jericho ends up getting the pinfall victory, but that was not the coolest part. The coolest part was MJF announces that since Jericho seems to like to break the rules, next week there will be no rules. And then he announced his opponent to be the king of this stuff, because we're on TV now. MDK all freaking day. Nick Gage, the king. Holy moly. Nick Gage on national TV came out pretty hyped. It was strange to see MJF and Nick Gage together, but he's a hired gun, so it makes a little sense there. Jericho seemed to be a little perplexed by the whole thing. Nick Gage had a pizza cutter, and I believe he said, I'm going to cut that. Well, you can fill in the rest. Up next, we have the Elite Killer, Frankie Kazarian, taking on Doc Gallows. This match was pretty fun. I rather like Doc Gallows as a singles wrestler. That could just be me from seeing him compete in G1s over the years, but I thought this was a fun match. A bunch of shenanigans happen. Doc Gallows gets the win, and then Kenny Omega comes out with Don Callis to confront the Elite Hunter, and he says, this is what happens when you mess with the Elite. And then Hangman Adam Page comes out, gets in the face of 3 guys. I believe Don Callis said it was 4-1, and the Dark Order come out and help out Hangman, and we're ready for that 10-man tag elimination match next week. Should be fun. Up next, we saw the somewhat celebration of the new FTW champion, Ricky Starks, and he said there's going to be a huge celebration next week. Brian Cage was interviewed, and he said, I love celebrations. So looks like we're going to have some shenanigans between Team Taz and the former FTW champion, Brian Cage. Up next, we had a match between Darby Allin and Wheeler Yuta. That was fun inside and outside of the ring. It's great to see the IWTV independent champion Wheeler Yuta getting his time on television. Darby looked great in this match. Wheeler looked great in this match, and we had an amazing exchange on the outside between Sting and Orange Cassidy. Probably one of the most brutal exchanges I've ever seen in history, and it ended with Sting beating his chest ever so lazily. It was a lot of fun. Darby gets the win, continues his rise back towards title contention. After that, we had the AEW Women's World Championship match. Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, taking on Nyla Rose. I enjoyed this match overall. I think we got a little too involved with the near falls towards the end, and it looked like we were getting a little tired. But I enjoyed both of these women. I think they are fantastic wrestlers. It just towards the end kind of fizzled out, but Dr. Britt Baker retains her championship, and I think one of the reasons why we had so many false finishes, so many kickouts, is because we're trying to make Britt Baker look really, really strong, and Nyla Rose is your big bad of the women's division. So I get it to a point. Just for me, at some points I went, oh boy, we should probably just go home. I will say I did really enjoy the Eddie Guerrero tossing of the belt, and then Vicky Guerrero coming over and being like, no, you're not going to be allowed to do that. And Nyla throwing it back to Britt Baker. I thought that was a really fun moment. Also, I'm not sure if Nyla Rose has tapped out before, but that was also very interesting. That's how Britt Baker won the match. And we'll see who's up next for Britt Baker. Andrade El Idolo told us he had a huge announcement to make. He was coming out to the ring. He had his little guy with him, and he had a tablet, and he showed it to Tony Schiavone, and it told Tony Schiavone to introduce the new executive consultant, Chavo Guerrero Jr., friend of the show. Go check out the interview on this YouTube page. Very interesting to see Chavo on TNT again. I guess he is now the manager of Andrade. I think this is interesting. I feel like we already had maybe someone in Conan that could, but that might have, people might be like, well, is Andrade with LAX now? But I get it. I'm excited to see Chavo. I've always loved Chavo. And then the Death Triangle come out. Whole once again. Everyone's either back from across seas or back from injury. And Pac says, you put our name in your mouth, what's the deal? And Andrade tries to recruit the Lucha Bros, and the Lucha Bros say, thanks, but no thanks. And Andrade says, well, you work for me now. And Pac tells him, nobody works for anybody in this little family. We're a Death Triangle. They get in the ring. Andrade begs off. So we'll see where this goes. I would love to randomly see, I don't know who Andrade would choose to be his other two partners. I would love to see some people from Mexico come up. I think a little Los Ingobernables reunion would be very interesting, but I'm intrigued to see where this goes. Up next, we had a match between Orange Cassidy and the Blade, which we kind of got a little bit of from the Darby match, in which the Blade hit Orange Cassidy with those brass knucks that he's been carrying around. Overall fun match. You got the usual Orange Cassidy shtick going on. Chris Statlander got involved. Ultimately, in the end, Orange Cassidy wins. I almost said shtick again. I don't know why. But he grabs those brass knucks at the end and punches the Blade for good measure. And maybe we'll be done with this feud. Maybe we'll move on. Maybe the Butcher will come back at some point. Who knows? Then we had a backstage interview with Alex Marvez and Chris Jericho, who was not facing the camera. Marvez wants his thoughts on his match next week with Nick Gage, and he basically says, now that he's brought this guy in, I need to bring back the Painmaker. And turns around, he's wearing the makeup with the studded jacket. He puts the fedora on. I mean, it's interesting. I get it, why he went back to that character. I don't know. I was just fine with it being just Chris Jericho. I don't think Chris Jericho needed to put the paint on. I don't think he needed to go to, well, I mean, he is going up against Nick Gage, so I guess he would need to go to a place to prepare. And I guess we're getting the Painmaker versus Nick Gage next week. Main event time for the IWGP United States Championship, a Texas death match. Lance Archer challenging Jon Moxley. This match was pretty brutal. They pulled out a lot of the stops that they pulled out in the previous matches. Lance Archer bled. I think the most interesting thing about this match was that Lance Archer won. I was generally surprised when that happened. I went, wow, I was not expecting that. But Lance Archer is your new IWGP United States champion. He already has a challenger in the Bullet Club's Hikuleo, which is very interesting. He's been running Shot over on New Japan Strong, and this further intertwines AEW with New Japan Pro Wrestling. So very, very interesting. And next week is going to be crazy. It's going to be a crazy card. I'm very excited for it. I'm very excited to hear what you guys thought about this week's episode of AEW Dynamite. Just leave some nice words, or not nice words if you didn't like it, in the comments below. I'll try to respond to everything I can. Make sure that you follow our Facebook page, facebook.com/THS Wrestling News. Guys, also make sure you follow our Instagram page, instagram.com/THS.wrestling. We got a lot of fun stuff going on over there. We go live from time to time, talk to the people. It's a lot of fun, so make sure you check it out. And guys, most importantly, thathashtagshow.com for everything trending in geek pop culture. And we'll see you guys next week.